Okay, so you landed the interview, congrats, but now you're starting to feel those pre-interview jitters. Um, yeah, we've all been there. So today we're doing a deep dive into this article from the sales experts. It's called Crush Your Nerves, Simple Ways to Calm Your Mind Before a Job Interview. And we're going to pull out some really useful tips to help you, like, turn those nerves into a superpower. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I remember this one interview I spent hours prepping, knew the company, like, inside and out, and I totally blanked on the hiring manager's name. Not my proudest moment.
Uh-huh. Oh, no. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting because this article really stresses how important preparation is. But it goes beyond just memorizing facts and figures.
Yeah, you don't want to sound like a robot just spitting out information.
Exactly. It's more about connecting your research to what the interviewer cares about.
So how do you do that?
Think of it like you're a detective. Look at the company's recent press releases, their earnings calls, even the interviewer's LinkedIn profile. Like, what are their priorities? What are they most proud of? Then you can connect your skills and experience to those specific things. It shows that you've done your homework and that you're genuinely interested in what they do.
Okay, I'm taking notes. But even with all the prep in the world, my heart still races before an interview. Any advice for dealing with those physical symptoms? Dry mouth, sweaty palms, the whole shebang.
Well, the article talks about the importance of fueling your body and mind. It's funny how often people forget about this basic step.
Yeah, it's easy to get so caught up in prepping that you forget to eat.
Exactly. A balanced meal a few hours before the interview can make a huge difference. Think protein complex carbs, things that give you energy without making you feel sluggish.
No sugar crashes allowed. And speaking of crashes, any tips for avoiding that dreaded dry mouth situation?
Hydration is so important, and not just for avoiding dry mouth. Being dehydrated can actually affect how well you can focus and your energy levels, especially when you're under pressure.
Okay, so water bottle check. Now here's something that surprised me in the article. Exercise as a pre-interview ritual.
I know, right?
Oh,
It seems counterintuitive, but even a little bit of activity can really help calm your nerves.
I would have thought just like sitting still and trying to chill out would be the way to go.
But think about it. Exercise releases endorphins. Those are like natural mood boosters. And it increases blood flow to the brain, which can actually help you think more clearly.
So that post-workout clarity is a real thing. But who has time for a full workout right before an interview?
It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Even a 5-minute walk around the block can make a difference. Or try some quick yoga stretches. The key is to get your body moving and your blood flowing.
I love that, a pre-interview power walk. Totally doable even with a busy schedule. Now, the article also mentions mindfulness, but I'm not sure I totally get it. It's not just about meditation, right?
You're right, it's more than that. Mindfulness is about being present in the moment, quieting all that mental chatter that can make anxiety worse.
So it's like hitting the pause button on those racing thoughts.
Exactly. The article suggests this simple breathing exercise. Inhale for a count of 4, hold for 4. Exhale for 4.
Okay, let's try it together. Everyone listening at home, join us. In for 4, hold, and out for 4.
You can do that a few times to slow your heart rate down and bring your attention back to the present.
Wow, that actually helps. I feel a little more grounded already.
The article also talks about visualization techniques. Imagining yourself confidently going through the interview can actually reduce anxiety and make you feel more confident.
So I should picture myself walking in, nailing those questions, and leaving with a smile. But sometimes I have trouble making those visualizations feel real.
Yeah, that's a common challenge. The trick is to use all your senses. Don't just see yourself in the interview room. Hear the sounds, feel the chair beneath you, notice the scent in the air. The more vivid the mental image, the more impact it will have.
Okay, so mindfulness is about being present and using visualization to our advantage.
Got it.
What about the logistics? What's the etiquette for arrival time?
Being on time is super important, of course. But getting there too early can be just as awkward as being late. Aim to get there 10 to 15 minutes early.
Yeah, that gives you a moment to compose yourself without feeling like you're awkwardly hanging out in the lobby. But what should you do with that extra time? Just sit there and try not to fidget.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah.
Use that time wisely. Review your notes, practice your breathing exercises, or give yourself a mental pep talk. It's all about staying focused and using that nervous energy in a positive way. And whatever you do, stay off social media.
Great advice. No doom scrolling in the waiting area. Okay, so we've arrived, we're prepped, we're mindful. What's next? It's all about the questions, right?
Absolutely. Asking thoughtful questions is crucial. It shows you're engaged, but it's also a chance to figure out if the company is the right fit for you.
So the article suggests asking about what success looks like in the role team dynamics, or the company's long-term goals. Those are solid examples, but how do you make your questions stand out from the generic ones everyone asks?
This goes back to that detective work we talked about earlier. Tie your questions to something specific you learned during your research. For example, if you read about a new initiative the company is launching, you could ask, how will this role contribute to the success of that initiative? Or, what are the biggest challenges you foresee in implementing this new program?
Wow, those are much more insightful than the standard, what's the company culture like?
Exactly. It shows you've gone deeper than surface-level research, and that you're genuinely interested in the company's specific challenges and opportunities.
Okay, note to self-craft strategic questions. Now, I think we all know that confidence is key in an interview. But how do you project that when you're feeling anything but confident?
That's where the article's advice on positive affirmations comes in. Repeating phrases like, I am prepared, or I have valuable skills to offer, can actually change your mindset.
It's like giving yourself a pep talk, right?
Exactly. But it's not just about faking it till you make it. It's about recognizing your strengths and reminding yourself what you bring to the table. You were invited to this interview for a reason. They see potential in you.
That's a good point. It's easy to get caught up in the nerves and forget that you're there because they already see something special in you.
The article also suggests reframing those nerves as excitement. Both are high-energy states, but excitement is linked to positive anticipation.
So instead of, oh no, what if I mess up? It's more like, bring it on, I'm ready to show them what I've got. I love that shift in perspective.
It's about harnessing that energy and channeling it in a positive direction. And speaking of positive energy, above all, remember to be yourself.
Right, because trying to be someone you're not will just make you more nervous. And it'll come
That's
across as insincere. Plus, you want to find a role where you can be authentic, right?
exactly. Authenticity is key to long-term job satisfaction.
So be yourself, be prepared, and don't forget to breathe.
And one final tip before we move on. Take a moment to freshen up once you get to the interview location.
Like a mini self-care moment before the big show.
Exactly. Use the restroom, have a sip of water, take a few deep breaths. It's simple, but it's a really effective way to recenter yourself and gather your thoughts.
Love it. We've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive. Are you ready to keep exploring?
Absolutely. Let's dive into the mental game of interview success. All right, so let's talk about the mental game. Because even with all the practical tips in the world, interviews can still feel pretty intimidating, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's like you're putting yourself out there, on display to be judged. How do you get past that feeling of being vulnerable?
I think it's about reframing the experience. Instead of thinking of it as a test where you're trying to prove yourself, think of it as a conversation, a chance to connect and see what's possible.
So it's not about them grilling you, it's about seeing if it's a good fit for both of you.
Exactly. And going into the interview with curiosity and enthusiasm can shift your energy. From fear to excitement.
It's almost like a first date. You're there to see if there's a spark of connection, something that resonates.
I love that analogy. And just like dating, being yourself is the best way to find the right opportunities. Because at the end of the day, you want a job where you can thrive, be authentic, and do your best work.
Okay, I'm feeling better already. But what about those negative thoughts that creep in? The what if I mess up or what if they don't like me kind of thoughts.
Those are totally normal. But the important thing is not to let them take over.
Easier said than done. Do you have any practical strategies for dealing with those negative thought gremlins?
One thing you can try is to acknowledge the thought, but then challenge it. So instead of, what if I mess up, it's, what if I totally nail it?
So like switching the focus from negative to positive. I like it.
Another helpful strategy is to focus on your preparation. Remind yourself that you've done your research, you're qualified for the role, and you have valuable skills to offer. It's about boosting your confidence by focusing on your strengths.
Like giving yourself a pep talk. But what if you actually do stumble during the interview? Like you blank on a question or say something awkward?
It happens to everyone. The important thing is to not let one little mistake ruin your whole performance.
Right. Everyone makes mistakes. It's how you recover that matters.
Exactly. Acknowledge the mistake quickly if you need to, and then move on. Don't dwell on it. Keep your energy positive and focus on the rest of the interview. The interviewer is looking at the big picture, not just a single slip-up.
So don't beat yourself up over a minor fumble. Got it. Now the interview is a two-way street, right?
Absolutely. It's not just about them evaluating you. It's also about you evaluating them.
You're interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you.
Exactly. Ask questions that help you figure out if the company and the role align with your values and goals. Because ultimately, you want a job that sits with what you want to achieve and allows you to succeed.
This makes me think about that whole imposter syndrome thing. That feeling of not being qualified enough or being exposed as a fraud.
Imposter syndrome is super common, even among really successful people.
So it's not just me. That's actually kind of reassuring.
Not at all. One way to deal with it is to focus on what you've accomplished. Make a list of your successes, big and small, and look it over before the interview. Remind yourself of what you've achieved and the skills you've developed.
I like that. It's about shifting from self-doubt to self-belief.
And remember, you were invited to the interview for a reason. They see something in you. So believe in yourself too. Now let's talk about body language.
Ah, yes. Nonverbal cues can make or break an interview.
Maintaining good posture, making eye contact, and smiling genuinely can show confidence and engagement.
So no fidgeting, crossing your arms, or slouching.
Right. Those things can make you seem disinterested or nervous.
What about mirroring the interviewer's body language?
That's a subtle but effective way to build rapport. But don't go overboard. Just be mindful of how you're sitting and try to match their energy level.
Okay, the interview's over. But the mental game isn't finished, is it? What about those post-interview jitters and the agonizing wait to hear back?
It's natural to feel anxious,
Hmm.
but try to focus on the things you can control.
Like sending a thank you note. Does that actually make a difference?
Absolutely. A well-written thank you note shows that you're still interested and keeps you on their radar.
Okay, note sending check. But what about those thoughts that keep replaying the interview in your head?
Try to distract yourself. Do some of your hobbies spend time with people you care about or work on other job applications?
Easier said than done. But I get it. Don't dwell on it. Move forward.
Exactly. Waiting can be tough, but stay positive and be patient. And remember, even if you don't get this job, the interview experience itself is valuable.
It's a chance to learn, grow, and improve your approach for future opportunities.
Speaking of future opportunities, let's talk about some specific situations that can trigger anxiety during an interview, like those tough, unexpected questions interviewers sometimes ask.
Oh, yeah. The ones that are designed to make you sweat. Any advice for handling those curveballs?
The key is to stay calm and think on your feet.
Right, because panicking won't help. But how do you stay composed when you're feeling put on the spot like that?
One helpful technique is to just take a moment to gather your thoughts before you answer.
So it's okay to pause and not jump in with an answer right away.
Absolutely. It's totally fine to say something like, "That's a great question. Let me think about that for a second." It shows that you're thoughtful and composed. Plus, it gives you a few seconds to collect your thoughts.
Yeah, that takes the pressure off. I always feel like I have to have an answer right away.
And if they ask you a really complex question, try breaking it down into smaller pieces.
Oh, that makes sense. Tackle it one step at a time instead of getting overwhelmed by the whole thing.
Exactly. And if you're dealing with a particularly intimidating interviewer, remember they're human too.
Yeah, they probably get nervous sometimes too.
Exactly. Try to connect with them on a personal level, maybe find some common ground or acknowledge their perspective. Sometimes just a simple smile or a genuine compliment can go a long way in building rapport.
Okay, so humanize the interviewer. Got it. But what about those awkward silences that can happen? Those can be so uncomfortable.
The key is to just embrace the silence and not let it throw you off.
So don't feel like you have to fill every gap with talking.
Right. Sometimes a little silence can actually be good for reflection and deeper thought. It gives the interviewer time to process what you've said, and it gives you a chance to think about what you want to say next.
Like a pause for everyone to catch their breath.
Exactly. And if the silence goes on too long, you could always ask a clarifying question or summarize what you just said.
But don't force it. Just let the conversation flow naturally.
Now let's talk about those curveball questions interviewers like to throw out there. You know, the ones that seem totally unrelated to the job or your experience.
Oh, yeah. Like, if you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be?
Exactly. The key with those is to stay calm. Think outside the box and try to connect the question back to your skills or what you've done.
Even if it seems totally random.
Yep. For example, if they ask you about your superpower, you can talk about how well you solve problems or your ability to work under pressure or your leadership skills. It's about showing off your skills and personality in a creative way. And remember, interviewers are often more interested in how you think and solve problems than in a specific right or wrong answer.
So it's not about finding the perfect answer. It's about showing how your mind works.
Now, we've talked a lot about mindset and all these mental strategies, but it's important to remember something we talked about earlier, celebrating the small wins.
I love that because job hunting can be a really long and tough process. It's easy to get discouraged.
Every interview, even if you don't get the job, is a step in the right direction. It's a chance to learn, grow, and get closer to your dream job.
So even if you don't ace the interview, it's still a good experience.
Exactly. It's a chance to improve your skills, build your confidence, and show off what makes you special. And remember, the job search is a marathon, not a sprint. It takes time, persistence, and resilience.
Yeah, you got to keep going, even when it gets hard.
And that brings us to our final thought-provoking question for our listeners today. What aspect of your experience or personality are you most excited to share in an interview?
Oh, I love that question. It really gets you thinking about your strengths, what you're passionate about, and what makes you unique.
It's a chance to think about what you offer and how to best present it.
So to everyone listening, take a minute to think about that. What makes you stand out?
And remember, you've got this. We're rooting for you every step of the way. Good luck with your interviews.
And no matter what, remember you're capable, you're amazing, and you're worthy. Believe in yourself and go out there and shine. That wraps up our deep dive into calming your mind before a job interview.
We hope you found these tips helpful.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.